Okay, so this is Justin for the second video. In this video I'm going to cover both the main engine class and all the things associated with it, and also the asset managers. So I'll go ahead and get started on that real quick. So first was the game header file. You said to just scroll through it real quick. So it's got all the things associated with it that it needs. It's got the getters and setters here in the public. It's got the private, everything blocked off with the constructors. It's obviously a singleton here. The initialize, load content, update, draw, unload content, and load resources, and then some of the private functions for the singleton. And it's also got the game initialize. And I'll show the game CPP real quick, just all of the things associated with that. This is where all of the stuff we started with is now gone, especially here in the update, with the nicely laid out order of things there. And then of course the draw, the unload content for all of the managers, and the terminate. So I'll go through the managers now. So I'll start with the camera manager. Most of this is for the some of the stuff is for the GodCam, and also the 2D setup for all of the sprites. So we'll just kind of just scroll through this. This is pretty much just setting it all up with the initialize, updating the GodCam for the user to use in the debugging mode, the terminate, the getters for all of that. That's pretty much all that's in the camera manager. It is of course set up as a singleton right there. So then next was the texture manager. The texture manager, model manager, and shader manager are all pretty much copy and pastes of each other, just with the obviously the type that is stored in them. But other than that, they're all exactly the same. So we got the load, the unload, the get, and the terminates for all of these. And of course, I used the my own hash function for this, even though it's pretty terrible, but it does work with that. So I'll show that real quick. All of the gets for these. Oops, sorry, that's the camera manager. I need the texture manager. So what we did for the get was first assign the key that it's getting in a value, turn that key into a value within the size of the table, and then try and place it there. If there was already an object at the position, it would go to the next position. So this would work all the way up until, I believe, 256 items in the list, and I believe it's log n to place it in there. It gets slower as there's more objects in there. So, but anyways, that's the get. The set is very similar to it. It just reverses this thing there. Next was the load texture. I'm sorry. The load texture was the opposite. Just for retrieve, it retrieves the value. Alright, next was the unload, so it goes through the table and deletes everything in that table, and then it calls terminate, which cancels out the singleton. So these are pretty much all the same for the texture manager, model manager, and shader manager, so I don't believe I should need to go through those, but I will go through the image manager real quick, because that one was just I should show the nodes real quick. I'll show you the node for this one. So the image manager, I believe the only difference was that it had the load image here took in 3 arguments here because it needed the rectangle for the image. But other than that, it's exactly the same. I'll show you the node real quick. These are the things that are actually stored in the containers within the manager, and all it is a key and a value. The value is obviously whatever type was stored in that manager, and then of course the gets for all of those. So I do think that was everything covered in here. The deletes are being called. The loads and gets, obviously, they're all set up as singletons. We used the hash table for that, and obviously the documentation's in there as well. Oh, I should show where these are actually being called in the load resources. So as you can see, the model manager load model, and then it does all of those. The texture manager loads all those. There are default shaders that the user can decide to load. The user does not need to do all of these. These are done all within the load default shader function. So the user can just call this one thing here and all the shaders are taken care of for them. And then of course the load images. This was the new one from last week, and then just setting the first scene. This isn't part of the, oh, I'm sorry, this is part of the manager. So yeah, so all of this is taken care of in the load resources. So I do believe that's everything for the asset managers and the game. Thanks.